Hey guys, my name's Adam if this is your first time here, and today we're going to be talking about the movie The Book of Life, which I just saw in theaters. Going into it, the only thing I knew that it was produced by Guillermo del Toro, who I know as a guy that blends a lot of practical effects with CGI, and in an animated movie you can't, that's sort of taken away from you. But it's sort of a moot point, and it kind of isn't because he's producing the film and not directing it, but we also know that producers tend to have a lot of influence on how the movies are made. So I thought it would be interesting to check out. The subject matter is, it's Mexican culture in general, but it's specifically the Day of the Dead, which is kind of like Halloween, and I'm a big fan of Halloween, so I thought this would be a really cool movie to check out. It's an animated film. I live in Canada, so I don't know a whole lot about the Mexican culture and this mythology. With that said, I'm a big fan of mythologies. It was really cool to be exposed to this whole new world. I really appreciate this film because it tackles something unique. It's unique because not very many movies get made about this subject matter. So for that reason, I think it's really cool and you guys should check it out. But with that aside, it's also got a really cool visual element that I think people will appreciate. I will say though that I saw this movie in 3D, and there was a point really deep into the beginning of the film where I thought, this is kind of a waste of a 3D film, because it was very mundane and sort of not too spectacular. With that said, not long after, it sort of explodes visually, and I would definitely say if you have the option to see this in 3D, I would recommend seeing it in 3D because it's really cool later on in the film. There were some things that I thought worked and some things that didn't, specifically the music of this film. A lot of people are going to talk about the music of this film. They took a lot of pop, like songs that everybody's heard or everybody knows, or songs that are really sort of played a lot today, and they did it sort of like a guy with a guitar, sort of Mexican style, I think. I hope that's the right phrase for it, but it's sort of, they sort of made it a Mexican version of those songs, which was really cool in some parts, and other parts I personally didn't really like it. Maybe there's people that'll think it's great. I'm sure there's people that'll think it's great, but there were parts where I didn't think it worked. Just my opinion. If you liked it, that's cool, whatever. With that said, there's also a relationship between these two guys fighting over the same girl. I thought that was done. There's parts that there's things that I really liked about it and things that I didn't. I thought that the girl could have been a lot less passive, but I guess to be sort of correct with the time that the movie's supposed to take place, she really couldn't have been. But what I thought was cool was the two guys. One was clearly kind of a douche and one was clearly like the good guy, but there wasn't that sort of duality of like, this guy's good and this guy's bad, and why would you ever want to be with this guy and this guy. They were both decent people, even though one was slightly more of a douche than the other, maybe a lot more of a douche, but it wasn't this guy's good, this guy's bad, as is often the case in movies. It didn't sort of insult your intelligence like that. Also, the deities that are sort of controlling had a very similar take on those. There was one that was evil and one that was good, but they weren't really evil, or they were just people, which I think is cool. It's very cool to see that in children's films especially. With that said, I would recommend checking this movie out. There was one other thing that I wanted to mention. Speaking of it, so this movie it's like a story within a story within a story, kind of. So this movie starts out with these kids going to a museum, and then they're told about this story of these two deities who are controlling this story of the main characters. So it's story within a story in that sense, but what I thought was cool was they sort of pick up this toy and they say, this is the main character, this is what the main character looks like, and this is what this character looks like, and throughout the storytelling process you can actually see that they continue with that they are the toys that they're shown in the beginning. They have, these joints that are, they're toys that are being used to tell this story throughout the entire movie. I thought that was kind of cool. A lot of people probably don't even really pay any attention to that, but I appreciated it. For one, Also, there's a phrase in here where they say, always play from your heart. I mean, that's a cool saying and everything, but I feel like in like 15 years, we're going to see people with, like, girls and guys and, you know, people just that are going to have that tattooed everywhere, or it's going to be their Facebook status or whatever we have in 15 years. We're going to probably get sick of that phrase, but, you know, whatever. Anyway, I'm sure that people are going to identify with it and, you know, whatever. And that's good, right? So, cool. Anyway, what would I say? Would I say check it out? I'd definitely say check it out. It's very cool. Very awesome to see something put into a movie that doesn't get put into movies very often. I'm sure we can all appreciate that. I'm probably going to pull this out every October and check it out, make it one of my sort of Halloween replays to get me into the mood for Halloween, even though it's Day of the Dead, but the closest thing we have to that around here is Halloween. Anyway, that's all I had to say. I hope that, you know, I helped give you some insight as to whether or not you'd like to check out this movie. Thanks for watching, and I hope that you have a good day.